Hey guys, this is Lucid and welcome back. We are jumping back into the tournament finals and it's turn 37. For those of you who missed last episode, we had some pretty cool stuff happen. Basically, we have had Ulm in the midst of in the midst of a 2v1, been getting elfed very heavily, losing a lot of ground, and potentially this turn having a big fight with Jotunheim. So that will be fun to watch. And Pythium has finally been knocked out, and Bandar Log was kind of on their last legs, but managed to throw Vanarus off. And Ind actually did start attacking Vanheim in what seemed like a rather dubious endeavor from my perspective. We have received 24 blood slaves from Pythium, which I'm sure as the observer faction we will put to extremely efficient use. We receive a message from Ulm. I hope there's a big battle, and more importantly, I hope I won it. We'll find out. A message from Venerous. Well, diplomacy continues to evolve at a blistering pace. Ind's attack on Vanheim is clearly in the what the heck frame of reference, as Ind has already has a noodly vulnerable empire that will be indefensible if he makes headway. Sort of true. I have I've heard from two players that that I am also going in on Vanheim, which definitely came as a surprise to me, as I had issued no such orders and had no particular buildup of military assets anywhere near the Vanheim border. Vanheim is definitely a viable. I wonder if this is Yis sowing these seeds, but it might be someone else. But Venerous has already indicated that Yis is sowing some kind of diplomacy seeds against him. Vanheim is definitely a viable target for me, and the closest throne is definitely tempting, but I prefer doing these things on my own initiative and schedule, not just because some rival player decides to make up a bunch of crap. That's funny. Anyway, hitting Bandar again. Let's see if he patrolled that with that monolith. My attack is a little dicey, but I can afford a trade. But I can afford to trade a bit if need be. I'll give it a 70% chance that Yis decides to attack the Vanabog, sieging Pythium's force. Okay, so he and I are on the same page. I was wondering what he thought about this, but if you recall, I've just been thinking that, especially with him losing that force on on Bandar Log's cap, that Yis was about to just dive bomb him, but we'll find out. Unless he really lowballs the attack, he'll probably kill it. I'm probably getting the siege chaff out of there, which is fine, because they've done their job. If Yis does not attack, I should flip the fort this turn. It's worth the risk of a Vanabog. In the off chance that he doesn't want to poke the bear just yet, there's a good chance he goes for Ind or Vanheim instead of me. And either of those are obviously way better for me. Okay. So, yeah. Nobody wants to be the target of Yis. Ind or Vanheim instead of me. Yeah. Message from Yis. Somewhat overdue diplomacy update. Nap 3 with Ind. Interesting. So I guess he's had this for a bit of time. Which you can see why Yis would want this. Because I think in many ways Ind is the best. It sucks because Ind doesn't have a ton to gain, because he has to defend his whole coastline. But he does have some land to gain near Satis. But he's probably, and this is again my assessment, which may be incorrect, he's probably one of the best players set up to actually fight Ind. To fight Yis, with having all those. If he can get his doggos blessed, I think they will do very well against Yis, especially before Yis gets Fog Warriors. Once Yis gets Fog Warriors, forget about it. Because those doggos do not have magic weapons. But Yis has Ind has other things they can do by that point in time, like Astral Communion stuff, which is pretty good against Morvarks. Okay. And coming down, we have a bunch of battles, which we're going to get to in the turn. So let us start and see. Okay, it does appear that Yis attacked. Yeah, I think we know how this is going to go. So Lion Pelt, Vigneta, and a Lion Pelt Ring of Region. And this is honorable, but I don't think it's going to work. Part of it, like the high defense, isn't going to matter because I think the flaming. I think he's just going to go pop. I think the flaming weapons are going to wreck him. And the misform's not going to help. Oddly, what would help here is, and I don't think it would make the difference, but what would help is skeletal body. He's probably pretty low already. Okay, not so, oh, I forgot. He is okay. I think his mist form is popped. It's hard to tell with like the moss body graphic overlay, but you do get a mist form buff icon, I believe. So I think that's popped. We haven't even checked what's going on back here, but I mean, this is about to be really bad. Okay, yeah. Moss body's now popped. He's at 4 HP. Yeah, there's just no way this was gonna happen. So yeah. And as predicted, yes did attack. It's kind of interesting because, you know, like you can hope that a player is going to be nice and not attack you. But, and some of this would also depend on how well he knew the diplomacy of like the fact that Yes has a nap with End. And then Vanarus is in a war with Ulm. He's just completely diplomatically protected. And this land is just a huge vacuum. So the odds probably, I mean, I won't say they're 100%, but they were just so high he was about to get attacked. I mean, so high. So, you know, and he knew he would lose if he got attacked. It seems from his message he was thinking he might have gotten attacked by just like a thug, not an entire army. Because if he got attacked by the army, obviously everything was going to die. Anyway, this is a fair amount of gear, and these are the kind of assets that Venerous is going to need in a war against Yes. And what's worse is there's a lot of commanders here, and I think the chance you get of picking up an item has related to how many commanders you have in your army. So yeah, they probably got a lot of this gear. So he's going to not only did he lose this gear, but he probably transferred it to Yes. And now this fort is almost definitely going to go to Yes, and it's a super high income province. So it's kind of interesting because you can see, like, he wanted so hard for it to not be true. And, you know, because there's going to be a huge value if he could get this province. And he wanted so hard for it to not be true that he was about to get wrecked by Yes. And Yes hadn't attacked him yet. So there was no, you know, it's an illusion you could force yourself to believe. And anyway, he didn't force himself to believe it, but he believed it well enough to keep his thug there. So that's kind of interesting. Over here, we see the Yes invasion beginning in proper. And we'll just take a look at these little raiding squads, see what he's doing. He's got one idiot. Okay, it's just going to be a few guys blessing, and then they run in, and then... Yeah, okay. Yeah. Pretty effective. Here he's coming in with the Chad Gelatinous Cube that's probably going to get buffed. That's kind of hilarious. So I guess these guys are pretty buffed, and these guys are pretty buffed, and this guy's pretty buffed. I can't remember if they get HP from eating it when they swallow and trample. That's kind of hilarious, actually. Not gonna lie. Not super low commitment, though, because these guys are kind of expensive. Like, it doesn't look like much. This looks super cheap. But this is still, you know, like, if you were to turn this into troops, this would be like 30 troops worth of gold. The difference, though, is when you successfully win with these guys, you're probably not going to lose anything. But when you successfully win with troops, there's a good chance you're going to, you know, attrition a unit or two. But the problem again now is, like, while Vanarus went and boldly ventured out to claim this territory, to plant his flag on it. He doesn't really have. This is so far away from his production infrastructure. He like the fort he has here, he hasn't had for very long. So his claim on this portion was like very tenuous. Now he's gone on top of Bandar Log's cap again. And this looks like it was with the thug, and there's no monolith, so there's nothing to see. It's just battle against PD here. We'll see what he at least brought, though. Because I'm imagining this was... Yeah, okay. This was monolith killing gear. He's got smashers. So, and there's a good chance they would have killed the monolith. So that was interesting. Okay, this is oh my gosh. So he's got flyers versus Astral Communion. Oh no, say it ain't so. I think we know what's gonna happen here. Mind Burn Communion going, but then the Eagles jump, attack, rear. My guess is that, oh my gosh, the Eagles do get kind of torn up, and they're a little expensive, but they're very good siege chaff. And you can tell no slouches in combat, though they don't have great protection or anything, so they do get killed. But I believe this is the entire Bandar Log Mage Corps going down. But now it's like, great, you've killed all these, but this army is not going... I don't think this army could kill probably like these little light raiders, but I don't think they're going to kill too much more than that. Meanwhile, oh my gosh. Okay, let's take a look at this, because some of you may have sneaked a peek at the battle report. So on this side we have a... Okay, this was not the entire Bandar Log Mage Corps that died, because we have some over here. I wonder if he has a way to do Divine Blessing, because he doesn't look like he has anybody set up to bless these guys. Oh, the Air Elemental coming in, really messing up this communion. Really messing it up. Definitely killed a few of them. Now they're at least entangled. On this side, though, the Keeper of the Bridge got all fluffed up. Somebody put Moss Body on him. He's got super high protection. His MR not super great. I don't think he cast... Oh, no, he did. He did. So he's deep. He's pretty deep in enemy dominion. You can see his current maximum HP is 24. So he's in like 6 enemy candles. At least, maybe 7. So he is using his Pretender God well outside of his Dominion, which when you use your Pretender God outside of your Dominion, you're going to lose HP, and you're also going to lose magic resistance. So he's got a pretty big penalty, which is going to matter versus an Astral Communion. He does Flying Shield, which is pretty good, but... This is the kind of thing you have to be... You do not really want to send your Pretender God. I wonder if he magic phased. We'll have to check afterwards. I don't think this was a magic phase, but it might have been. The Mind Burn's coming out. Okay, he doesn't have Soul Slay, at least. The thing, though, is he has regen, but he has a very low HP pool, which means he's not going to regen until he gets beneath 24 HP, and then he'll only regen for 3, which is 2.4 rounded up. So what that means is that Mind Burn combined, like these Sacreds aren't going to do anything, but the Mind Burns and the Earth Elemental, no, the Earth Elementals can't trample him either. I don't think any of the troops are going to do anything to him, but the Mind Burn, oh, is he only size 5? Oh, he's only size 5. For some reason I thought he was size 6. Now, these are armor-piercing attacks, which you can see they've already busted through Moss Body. They did it this turn. You can see the poison clouds coming out. But they're going to keep busting through. And what we'll probably see is, I think it's these Earth Elementals that are actually going to do it. And they're regenning up a lot. He's already at 74. He's gotten afflictions. Oh, this is not good. Okay, the mind burn's not being terribly successful. Like, if we look at the... I wish there was a way to, like, filter just for damage you've taken. Okay, here you got hit for 5. Trampled for 1. Trampled for 2. I don't think I see the mind burn things here. I wonder if we can see it when we click on one of these guys who's casting it. Oh yeah, right here. Range attack, mind burn in the head for 12 points of damage. The thing is, when you're going to be taking all this damage from things that target your head, you're much more likely to get, yeah, like mute, which is a son of a bitch. I don't know if Vanarus has a way to get rid of some of these afflictions, but these are very bad. And he's cursed. I kind of want to see if that happened this turn. He may have already been... Oh no, he got cursed this turn too. Which is something you can do with Nature Astral. Curse hasn't come out yet. Curse hasn't come out yet. Oh my gosh, it looks like it happened off script. That's funny, because I don't think it's not something Bandar Log scripted. It's just something that happened off script with Nature Astral. There was the curse sound, though. Yeah, there it was. And that was on turn 11, so definitely off script. And the mind burn's coming out. Oh, man. Curse plus all these head targeting things. Gonna give him all the head afflictions. Alright, he just got the plus, which means he got close to his threshold here. Okay, what we have to see after this, and he has the worst afflictions. I mean, he literally has the worst. He lost an arm, which means good luck using him as a super combatant now. With only one... I mean, losing an arm is horrible. Mute, I mean, not as bad as feeble-minded, but horrible. Crippled, which is debilitating. It means you can only move one tile, unless you have, like, flying boots. Or you magic face. And it gives you a huge stat penalty. And he is blind. I mean, these are the worst. I mean, lost both of his eyes, which effectively blind. And look at his stat line. Look at 0 defense, crippled, lost both eyes. I mean, it's so bad. Oh my gosh. Oh, we got hit. I think it was the mind burn that killed him. Oh, Ernest. We liked you. Let's see what the last thing was. 29 damage mind burn. Oh, man. Okay, at least he didn't get more afflictions from the last time he checked. Still useful. Still can be a force, you know, because he can still magic phase. He can still do almost all the buffs he needs to do. The worst parts are that his stat line now sucks. He's not going to be able to hit anything with the sword. These are pretty debilitating. Oh my gosh. That is so painful. Now, while he did die, he did, and I think a lot of this was really just from the air elementals, did kill a lot of the thugs. I mean, the mages. Bandar Log, my guess, is down to less than 10 mages total now. Yeah. And the Tiger Riders got mulched. It's just bad news. He lost 2 of his Venerusian sages. I think these guys were the ones who cast Air Elemental that we could check. We'll check. Because this is such a pivotal battle. Yeah. I think these guys all... I think this was entirely a magic... I think this was a magic phase attack. As I recall, the end of last episode, he was set up to magic phase. God, I could see how this would... I could see how you think this would work, too. You know, air elementals is a lot of air elementals, and they did a fair amount of work, but it wasn't quite enough. It wasn't quite enough. The air elemental, if you know, I feel like it's almost better if this guy just dropped air elementals, and then I don't know. The problem then is he would then die potentially. If the air element, you're like all in on the air elementals, but I feel like overwhelming them with air elementals might have been the play, or just not sending them. But I mean, this is just, oh man. I mean, this is everything lining up now to be just as bad as it could be for Vanarus. I mean, as bad as it could be. So he has not even just a single elf attack by Yes. With I mean, not an elf. I mean, this is a major army of Yes. Like, this is not an army you mess around with. This is a major. 40 Morvarks demands a lot of respect. And he's going to have the siege chaff following in behind it. But this army is going to go ahead and storm this fort, but the siege chaff is going to come and take these other two. But he's got a general invasion on all fronts. He's now lost his god, which was probably going to be one of his best lines of defense against the Morvarks, especially if he was able to fight them in friendly dominion. It's possible, even with thug, like little Morvark thugs running around, that he could take a favorable fight and wipe out a stack if he was in friendly dominion. You know, he had that HP regen and a high base HP pool. But right now, anyway, that tool is gone. And he's accomplished almost nothing. I mean, I don't want to say that. He's accomplished things. He's gotten this, he's taken this and forted it, which is hard. I hesitate to call it an accomplishment, though, because he doesn't have any ability at all to defend this now. Any player that wanted to take it from him could. And meanwhile, he has not done the killing blow to Bandar Log. So their cap is and will be unassailable from Vanarus for some time. While he does have it under lockdown, it is certainly not about to fall. And he's had some territory gains. He's had these gains, but I think he's lost more resources in this war from these guys dying. Certainly now with these guys dying, with the guys who had previously died on top of Bandar Log's cap, with the thugs that he's lost. I think he's lost more from this conflict in terms of resources than he's gained. While he's gained land and it's given money and gems, I'm pretty sure he's lost more over the past 6 or 7 turns, or however long the war's really been going on, than it's provided. But I could be wrong. Either way, whether he has or hasn't, the path is now paved and laid and ready to be tread upon, where there's nothing over here to stop Yes from taking this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Now, what we do see is Vanarus starting to form an army on this throne, and this is a proper army. We can see there's a fair amount of sages. There's a lot of Vanarusian berserkers and Chud herdmen, which are formidable units. And he has a big mage corps over here. So Vanarus was not all in against Bandar Log. Like, he didn't take everything he had and marched it over this way. He didn't do that. And he still has, mages back here doing research and things like that, who could presumably defend against Vanheim if they were attacked or something. But, so anyway, it's possible that Vanarus can muster a defense well enough to stop some of the Yes invasion. But if you look at what is on this side, what is west of this throne that Vanarus has, nothing west of this throne is going to be able to repel what Yes has. another way of saying that is everything that he's currently using to invade Bandar Log is woefully insufficient against the forces from Yis, which are going to invade him probably properly, as well as all of the Bandar Log land. So yeah. Not looking good. And he's also he's been successful enough in the war with Bandar Log to completely neuter them. I mean, Bandar Log, well, they probably made some mistakes in mage recruitment, etc. They now, I mean, all their mages have been out fighting. They've been using presumably a fair amount of their gems. Like Bandar Log is pretty exhausted. And yeah, they're now going to get eaten by Yis. Okay, so there's that. Let's come over and let's look at Ulm. Let's see what's happening in the Ulm part of the world. So Ulm was hoping to have a big battle, and it looks like he got it. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay, guys, get out your popcorn. This is what you came to this episode for. None of this elf on elf action. You came to watch the men fight. The ironclad, priest, smith-laden, guardian, huge black halberd carrying motherfuckers of Ulm coming over here to square off against the regenerating giants of Jotunheim with almost certainly a turbo communion. This is what you came for. Okay, so let's talk about this. I think these are all... Oh, no. Okay. I think these are like evocation bait he put out in front, but I'm not totally sure. And this is probably evocation bait too. A dusk dagger. Interesting. I think he was thinking maybe he's going to send just his god in and use his god to try to super combatant through all of this, which would be a horrible idea, by the way. I mean, even without the Scrotty, just sending your god in against a turbo communion with any astral in it is a pretty bad idea. But anyway, that is not what Sakane did. But this is anti-thug or anti-super combatant Scrotty. But, pretty general purpose too. He's pretty fearsome looking. These guys have a shroud, which is going to give them extra regen. So they're regenerating 20. And then once they get hooked up to the Scrotty, to the guy, they're not Gaija, but whatever these ladies are. Or to the Gaija. Somebody's going to cast personal regen, which is going to kick them up to 30% regen, which is, quite frankly, a lot of regen. Yeah. Okay, on Ulm's side, we have all these black halberds. The guardians with black halberds. They're in the front, and I think the idea is they're supposed to primarily chop up the giants, which I think they will do rather efficiently. And they do so much damage. The regen of the giants is going to pay for itself in a long battle. And I don't think they're going to last a tremendous number of turns. They do have high protection. But these guys hit for a lot. They hit for 27. And when they get buffed up with Strength of Giants, which almost certainly Sakane is going to do, it's going to be bonus 5 damage. So that's going to be 32 damage. And that is going to chop right through 20 protection. Right through it. So I think these guys will only last 1 or 2 rounds in combat, which means the regen actually isn't going to be much more effective than plus 6 HP or something, But we'll see. I think what he's planning on doing too, and we'll watch it for, we'll see what they actually do, but it's kind of fun for me to speculate a little bit at the beginning. Because of this sparse line, I think the plan is to have a screen of skeletons pouring out, and then for these guys to just kind of fill in the gaps and to kill the hard-to-kill stuff, which would work. Unfortunately for them, from Ulm's side, there's also a reasonably large contingent of crossbows, which I think these are sappers, yeah, so they're mostly for sieging. And a pretty big group of dudes who are going to be doing So I do wonder what he's going to use these. He's got earth gems on some of them. Some communion slaves. Clearly he's put some thought into who gets what. This guy's Earth 4, it looks like he's going to be doing Earthquake, is my guess. It looks like multiple castings of Earthquake, which would clear out a lot of the chaff. So my guess is Legions of Steel on everything, Strength of Giants, a few casts of Earthquake. But we'll see. Let's go ahead and start the battle. First crossbow volley is off. You can see they're targeting this Scrotty, who's up in front. He looks like a very juicy target to them. And these guys. Okay, never mind. That was Curse of Stones, I think. I didn't see it actually explicitly, but that was I think the animation. Alov casts Rigor Mortis. Okay, we have Iron Blizzards, Magma Bolts, Iron Blizzards, Blade Wind, Iron Blizzards, Blade Wind. Okay, who cast Rigor Mortis? Somebody over here did, I think. Okay, Breath of Winter. Grip of Winter. But he's been lit up by crossbows. Holy shit. Alright, we can't see here, but somebody has cast Rigor Mortis, and I can't tell who. But just know somebody has. But God, they're getting lit up in the backline by these crossbows. Look at that evocation coming out. Holy shit. And like Iron Blizzards and stuff, you can't target. So I think it's just doing HP density. But I'm not totally sure. Sakane loves some... we haven't really looked at his bless. Yeah, he's got Farcaster, so he can hit the back lines. And Precision +3, which keeps the shotgun blast kind of tight. But yeah, sweet mother of God. Let's see, does he have any of these guys in a communion of any sort? No. They've just done Earth Power, and they're just blasting out Iron Blizzards. But yeah, Grip of Winter got taken down. Wailing Winds is still up. And I think his god, this must be from Sakane's god. By, yeah, Mike the Allfather. Oh, wait, there was that thing again. I'm pretty sure that was Curse of Stones. Now, Ulm does not have Aerofend up. His guys are pretty high protection, and a lot of the Ulm evocations, you know, Blade Wind, Iron Blizzard, those are things that have to go through armor. Like, I think Iron Blizzard is AP damage, armor piercing, so the armor only counts for half. But these guys are still high enough protection that a lot of times it will block it. But not high enough that it's going to block it all the time. So... basically, there's a fair amount of friendly fire. I mean, just look at these guys. Now, Scrotty, typically the way Scrotty are built is they're not super high protection. They're just counting on regenerating through the damage. The problem with that is when there's a lot of range support, like a lot of crossbows, and when they're surrounded by, you know, dudes, it's pretty easy for that damage to become overwhelming that is coming in. And then just look at this. Yeah, look at all that. I mean, complete destruction. And this is a major commitment. These guys are, like, Scrotty are so expensive. They are not cheap. This is the point in the game when Ulm really shines. Like, they are so strong at this point in the game. I wonder if he has... Is this a thug? Yeah, the Sword of Sharpness. Later, once Army of Gold comes out, Ulm literally wants to die, though, because almost everything they have has to go through protection. But yeah. I mean, just master play by Sakane here. Loses almost nothing. I mean, what he lost here is completely trivial. Whereas on this side, the losses are they're catastrophic. That's the only word to describe it. So, these guys are 160. So we'll call this 320. And then he lost 3 of these, which is another 1,000. So 1,300. And then a scrotty, 6 scrotty? So we'll call that another 2,000. So we're like 3,300. And then these guys are 100 a pop. So that's 3,000 more. So this is like 6,000 gold lost versus like 800 gold maybe. Yeah. I mean, complete destruction. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see what else has happened. Takes us back from a tiny bit of PD. Vanheim with the Bishop General. If there's an end in the game, a lot of players get these Bishop Generals. So anyway, here's Vanheim's. But then he gets bumped by a Thermagode who kills a bunch of PD. And again, we were talking a little bit about it last episode, but Sakane has to figure out some efficient counters to these thugs. And he actually commented in the last video about what he was going to do. So apparently it's up and coming. Oh man, but he is just... Okay, so this is one of his efficient counters. Oh, so he's raiding. This is a little risky. Because this guy can just die. These guys did get Strength of Giants put on them. But I don't think... No, they didn't get Legions of Steel. Which might have made the difference here. Yeah, I think Legions of Steel might have made the difference. So I'll try one more time. Earth Power. Strength of Giants. Yeah, Blade Wind was not the call. I don't know why he did Blade Wind and not Strength of Giants. I mean, not Legions of Steel. Every time you... Because that would have made a big difference. Like, it would have made this 11 go down to 7, the 6 go down to 3. It would have cut almost the damage in half from the first round. Also, versus Elves, I'm pretty sure you want the Flails way more than you want... Because the Flails are going to have a few bonuses. One is they're going to get the +2 attack versus shields, which is going to be really nice for breaking through glamour, and they get 2 attacks. But verse... And I can see why you do a mix. Because verse, like, really high protection dudes, the battle axes can be better. Yeah. So that's just too bad. But this is the kind of thing that he needs to have figured out. This is a bit bigger than the force Vanheim was using before. Like, I think he was just using like 6 or 7, and this is 10 Vans, so it's a bit more. But they completely mulched this counter raid from Ulm. And then over here, Vanheim... Ooh, attacking end. So Vanheim's actually getting pretty big off this war. Loses 1 Van. But the doggos are coming in. And Van is still on top of this fort with a pretty big group of dudes. I think it'll take him one more turn to crack it. But next turn he should be cracked. Yeah, his income. I don't know if we can see it. I bet his income's been going through the roof lately. Oh, not really. Well, it's going up, but it's not going up a ton. I don't know why. Don't know why. Because he's gotten quite a few more... Like, if we look at his province graph, it must be going up, right? Yeah, okay, it went up a ton from the start of the war, and it's just trickling up now. But End launching, I think a sort of, and this is one of the things Vanarus was saying, like, why is End attacking Vanheim? Which is a sentiment I agree with, I must say. Yeah. He's already, I mean, it would take him, like, if you think games and Dominions don't always last that long, like, they may take, 60 turns, 100 turns. But just to get an army from one side of his empire to the other is going to take him a long ass time if you're going in this direction. It's one of the problems, like, being hard to defend. If you're a flying nation, it's not as big of a deal. And I don't know how fast doggos are, but yeah. And it's getting crushed right now on PD too. Oh man. So this is interesting. I wonder, I was kind of getting onto Vanheim about this war, saying, hey, it may not be a great deal, because they're giving up Satis, which was basically a free capital, which I think, given their bless and everything else, they were pretty well set up to take. And Yis was pretty distracted dealing with Pythium. I think they had a window to take it, especially if they were confident enough to fight Yis off, which, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think they might have been able to do that. We'll come over and we'll look at Yis in a minute. But this is looking like it's paying off for them. I mean, they've gotten pretty big. They're probably one of the bigger players now. Score graph, provinces. Yeah, they're number 2. Like, this has catapulted them from, like, a very middle of the road position all the way up to number 2 in terms of province size. And so far, they haven't lost much yet. Okay, so Ulm has taken back some of this stuff up here. And, like, Yis isn't able to, not Yis, Vanheim isn't able to trace income from this province or gem income. But neither is Ulm able to trace. So it looks like Vanheim has shifted most of his elves down here, while defending a little bit against some of the Ulmish retaliations. And he's taken this. So it looks like his plan actually is going to be to attack Yis, which, honestly, especially, the problem I don't know, or the thing I don't know, is I don't know if he's shifting his focus to this southern front, rather than focusing on Ulm, or, I guess for him it's his eastern front, rather than his northeast. If he's shifting his resources south, he's going to get some gains, but especially with this victory that Ulm just had up here, he's going to be able to take a lot of these troops and to reclaim a lot of this land. And right now, this doesn't look like a very awkward border, because, like, he's going to be, potentially getting a lot of this stuff. This is going to be a very difficult war for Vanheim to win against End, because End does have very deep pockets. They're one of the bigger players. They've got all these doggos that are now coming back up. And it's to get, like, if he gets it, it's a pretty awkward shape of an empire, especially if Ulm retakes his stuff. Now, if Jotunheim was successful in this battle, I think it would be totally different if Jotunheim was successful. If Jotunheim was successful, I think if Jotunheim was successful here, this Ulm army would be dead. Jotunheim would probably get Ulm and then this Ulmish territory up here. And that would leave Vanheim to get almost all this southern territory. And with all this southern territory, he would probably have deep enough pockets to potentially fight Endorf. And if he fought Endorf and, let's say, got a bunch of this, he would be in a very, very strong position. The problem is, by dealing a critical blow to End, he would also invite Yis in to probably take a bunch of this stuff. So that's kind of the thing, is like you're always worried about attacking people that are near the game leader because they can vulture off them. Oh man. This is just such chaos. It is such chaos. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. Um, so that's what's happening over here in this war. I don't think I missed any of the major battles. Somebody opened the silver sarcophagus and they found the first gate. Oh man, look at that. This is a pretty good site for Jotunheim because they are a blood nation. So potentially they can do some kind of cheaper blood summons if the game goes on. Because right now I don't think they have a major blood economy set up. I don't see any evidence of that, like wolves running around or things like that. And let's talk a little bit about Jotunheim, as we're still kind of talking about the Ulm theater of war. Jotunheim has a decision to make. Almost certainly, Ulm would be okay piecing out for original borders at this point. On the other hand, Ulm is still in a 2v1, and Jotunheim may feel like they can get some kind of edge or better than original borders out of the deal. But Ulm also crushed their entire army and may feel like they can come over and just cap Jotunheim, which I think is a distinct possibility. There are some things to note, though. One is that, and we can see this, there's a lot of Veti, and I don't know if Ulm can see this, but it means, potentially there's going to be a lot of sneaky fuckers running around inside Ulm. And that's a lot different than what Ulm has been fighting, with this army of giants running at them. And then a bunch of archers may be able to kill a bunch of his mages at the beginning, but Ulm could honestly solve that just by turn 1 iron skinning. But anyway, if Ulm does press forward, he's going to have some issues. We already know Jotunheim's trying to do fatigue plays. And honestly, he can 100% get those off if he just puts a little bit of armor and like Aerofend amulets on, or like a shield of valor. If he puts those on his casters for rigor mortis and for grip of winter, then those casters are almost definitely going to stay up for a good long while, which is probably in Cold 3 going to be long enough to put the entire enemy army to sleep. So the problem if Ulm rushes in is they really do have to worry about fatigue plays in Cold 3. But at this point, I think what has been made clear to me as a caster is that Jotunheim is not going to have a decisive victory against Ulm. Like, if they're going to win this, it's going to be slow and painful. And slow and painful is not very good, especially when you're not in position 1. If you're in position 1 or 2, you can afford to win slow, painful wars. If you're in position 3 or 4, you really can't unless you're winning the slow, painful war against position 1 or 2. So I think that's kind of a recipe for failure. So what I'll be interested to see or to hear, and maybe Jotunheim will send me an update, but we'll certainly be able to see from their actions regardless, is if they peace out with Ulm. I think peacing out with Ulm is probably the right move to do. But I'm not sure where they go then. They could potentially stay allied with Vanarus and turn on End, which would be an interesting play. It would open up End to being attacked also by Yis. But Yis is already pretty busy fighting Vanarus. So if there's a time to attack End, it is probably right now. Because while Yis will probably try to vulture some of the End stuff, they're going to vulture it much less now than at any other point in the game. So potentially they can vulture a bunch of Yis, a bunch of End, and then they would be, set up in a position to maybe threaten one of the Yisian thrones if it came down to it. But I think that's another option. The nice thing about that for Jotunheim, well, I think they have a lot more to gain, is the nicest part. Like, they potentially could get almost all of this. And right now I don't see them getting Ulm's capital anytime terribly soon. The bad thing about it is they're going to have to wait a few turns to reposition their troops on this border. The other bad thing about that is if they switch, it's very likely that what will happen is Vanarus will ask Ind to be in a 1v1 versus Ulm. Okay, the second Jotunheim ends their nap with Ind is going to try to get out of the war with Vanheim. Vanheim will probably then still be in a 1v1 versus Ulm. And Ulm is probably going to want to be in a 1v1 versus Vanheim. So I think what would happen is if Jotunheim switched to Ind, he would be in a 1v1 versus Ind. And maybe he would rather be... This is... I don't know. It's tricky because he's gotten his ass completely kicked. And he's going to be in a slow, grindy war. And my rule for that is normally always get out. But unfortunately, if he... This, in some ways, is still diplomatically favorable. Because he's in a 2v1 with a secure flank. And... the other player is in a 2v1 also. So it's kind of like the best position in some way. But he just got his ass kicked. And my rule is always try to get out of wars where you're getting your ass kicked. And it served me pretty well so far. I'm just not sure what to do here for Jotunheim. But... because I can definitely see how, if I just got my ass kicked, I wouldn't want to get into a 1v1 with Ind, which I think is the alternative. Or sitting here and turtling. Which honestly may not be the wrong move. Like, maybe sitting here turtling, waiting for Vanarus or Ind to have major losses, ideally Ind, and then you come in and backstab them. The problem, though, is the game is ticking, and meanwhile, Yis is going to get, like, wildly out of control. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up this turn kind of soon, but we need to finish with Yis. So, to finish with Yis, we have to come down here and look at Satis, where... Okay, so we have a magic phase attack from Yis. This Morgan Princess comes in. Vine Shield, Frostband, Lion Pelt, and Bracer of Protection. And that's pretty sufficient to kill all of this garbage. And some more troops roll in, but also reinforcements from Yis rolled in too. And then they get soundly trounced. And here we had another group of Morvark Knights. So now there's a lot of Morvark Knights. This is 10 here, 10 here. So it's 20 Morvark Knights. Presumably they're going to be going on top of the capital this turn, and they will be the ones storming it. There's just a bunch of garbage on top of the cap right now. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Satis starting to look a lot like Yis. And I think we've about covered it for this turn. We'll go ahead and do another one. I want to do at least 2 turns per episode. So we're going to go ahead and pull up turn 38. A message from Ulm. Quite satisfied with the victory over Jotunheim. Wailing winds in that particular fight was not as crucial. It did make a couple of his scrotty run away, but I just as soon would have liked to have killed them. However, I think WW, Wailing Winds, will be key in fort battles if he's counting on standing behind the walls and skelly spamming. Unfortunately, I scouted a national hero of his that has high A, so it's quite likely they'll have Arrowfin the next time I fight and get to his cap. Right, and Arrowfin is going to be one of the keys for Jotunheim. By the time I get to his cap... Oh my gosh, so Ulm is not even considering peace. Ulm is like, we're going to go cap him. What an aggressive play. I think it's possible, but there's just a lot of ways it could mess up. I just see a lot of different ways it can mess up. I think, too, there is a huge value in getting a one, like, because he could basically turn this into a 2v1 where he's in the 2 and Vanheim is in the 1. And I would prefer that over what I would consider to be a much more risky play of going after Jotunheim's capital. But I can also understand why Ohm thinks this Doomstack can just roll up and cap him. I think in a long fight, though, my superior troops and enough Iron Blizzards, even with Aerofend, will at least keep the fort gates neutral, and Wailing Wind will call his guys to retreat to their deaths. However, I need to keep retreat paths open for myself, because that hero could do Wailing Winds on his own, although I don't think he's gotten Evocation 6 yet, nor would that be a priority. Anyways, we'll see. I intend to threaten his cap and hopefully catch a few Gaijas retreating along the way. I sent a pile of water gems to Vanarus, who's going to put up Frozen Sea or whatever it's called to help stop Yis. Ideally, I would trade those gems or gold for gold or useful things, but they won't be any good to me if Yis wins early, so we'll see how that turns out. From Venerous, okay, better clarify last turn's message. When I said I would be okay with trading losses with Bandar, that wasn't what I meant. I was thinking about the Vanabogs that might get killed on his capital, or the sages that were making air elementals for his mages. The part where my pretender died was an unforced error in a blender. That's pretty funny. There was no particular urgency to kill that Bandar stack, even though it represented most of all of his mage core. And I could have simply not attacked if with my pretender in -7. I guess the Dominion rate 7. I could have fought in the coastal palisades where it was only -2 Dominion, and even then preached it to neutral Dominion with the Vanabogs there, or just let him run around a bit longer. I think I rushed because I was expecting the Yis attack, and now I'm in a much worse fix with respect to Yis because I don't have my pretender. So I have 2 turns to Alt 7 and Frozen Seas. Maybe I'll get gems from other players for it. Maybe they'll just watch Yis win and do nothing. But before I can put it up, I need to call my pretender back, forge an elemental staff, and that's possibly... I don't know if he knows, guys. Oh, yeah, okay. He does know. May also need to empower him blood to cure his mute affliction, if he has it, which will be another... Because there's a chance when your pretender respawns, you get rid of afflictions. Which will be another 3 turns away. Only then can Frozen Seas go up. That's not ideal, but I need to stop the current Doom Blob of Knights either way. Yeah, that is a really bad turn of events. I didn't even think about it that way, too. But, like, losing his god, getting the mute affliction, which was really not even planned. That was the off-script Bandar mages. That just caused a major problem because now he's got to wait a few turns to get his god back. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to call god, but it could be a while. And he's going to need his god for multiple things, like to repel Yis, but he's also going to need his god to do the Staff of Elemental Mastery so that he can do Sea of Ice. Okay, more notes from Venerous. I have the resources to resist Yis. Most notably, I probably have a research lead on him, but there's basically no chance I can win without assistance from other players or some form of error by Yis. He's too big, even if I were to magically remove his Doomstacks of Knights. To cheaply and easily, by some unexplained means, he can replace his losses faster than I can. I'm sorry. Even if I were able to magically remove his Doomstack of Knights cheaply and easily by some unexplainable means, he can replace his losses faster than I can and is already raiding off provinces that I can't defend and probably won't get back, even if I were to get help. I'll need to slow him down as best I can, inflict losses as favorably as I can, and leverage diplomacy with other players against him in hopes of getting them through. In hopes of getting through this without being in a wholly ruined position. Sadly, the other players don't want to get involved. Some of them agree they probably should, but they've started other conflicts that they may not be willing to back out of. A small water player has trouble establishing itself on land, but a really big water player can force asymmetric conflicts of their choosing. It's almost impossible to threaten Yis's, and Yis is in a special way to do that as a nation, because they're significantly stronger on land than they are in water, in general. Now, they're going to be stronger underwater than other land nations would be underwater, but, they do very well in land matchups compared to other water nations on land. Okay. It's almost impossible to threaten Yis's core holdings underwater, so any player that cares to go in against Yis will suffer losses there without any real compensation, putting them in an even worse position compared to any player that sits out of the conflict when a player that attacks another land player. Yeah. So that seems pretty fair. Magic phase attack. Yes, coming in. Magic phasing down a Vignetta and some Smirgles. I think he's found a blood hunting operation. Because these are very good patrollers. These... they get a patrol bonus 10, these Smirgles. And so he's probably blood hunting beneath it. I don't know why he has this. I'm assuming this guy was patrolling. Wait, was this a fort? This doesn't look like a fort. Whoops. Okay, that's not good. Losing a mage, losing some PD, losing his Smirgles. But this doesn't actually look like a blood hunting operation now. If we go to this forest, I don't think there's a fort here. No. Wait, am I... Okay, we're going to find out what's going to happen. Because this doesn't make sense to me right now. And I'm sure this... Okay, so no blood. Did this guy have blood? This guy had blood. Okay, so he was setting up a blood hunting operation here. But no more. And unfortunately, that means this guy can magic phase out of this lab too. Because I don't know if he built... I think he did build this lab. Because I see a fair amount of labs around. Maybe not. Yeah, there's... Yis is apparently going to shut down blood hunting operations. So this is a full-fledged war from Yis against... Vanarus. Yes, Cloud Trapezing in this thug who has Hammer of the Mountains, which is a bit of an odd choice because you lose your shield. Copper Plate, Barkskin Amulet, okay. Ooh, there's a thug back here. Hello. 2 thugs. Okay, this one's got a Serpent's Kriss. Oh, and they do have the eye shield. And her eyes are gone. Or she's lost one eye. She's about to lose the other one, probably. But she's caused one of them to retreat. Now, she died when she retreated. I don't really understand why. Because I didn't see poison ticking on her. I'll watch it again. Oh, it was poison. We can see 3 poison here. So that was the Serpent's Kriss here that killed her. Anyway, he had a dude retreat, so hopefully that for Vanarus anyway, that the guy didn't die in the retreat. But this was a pretty clean win. This is a pretty a reasonably high gem investment. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 25, but less with the hammer. So, you know, not nothing. And yeah, let's take a look at the rest of what happened. Let's start with this elf on elf war. We see Yis attacking over here with some more Varks. And I'm pretty sure they moved from here or from here all the way up here. They are hauling ass. If you recall, they have larger, which increases their map move. So these guys, with 24 map move, I think they can move through a lot of enemy territories. I don't know if that extra 2 from enlarged is going to, you know, be what makes the difference, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if it could. Over here, Yis just breaks through this Fort of Pythium that had nothing inside of it. Okay, yeah, here was this army from this thug from Yis that got killed. Here, Vanabog ran into a few Morvark Knights. Sermon of Courage? The fuck? What you casting, boy? Gossamer Cloth. He didn't bless himself. That's probably not great. You know, I think he probably could have won this. I wonder if it was a misscript that he accidentally clicked Sermon of Courage instead of Blessing. I think if you do... Let's see what his gear was. I think he probably could have done it. Yeah. You did. I think the script here is a little off. I think what you want to do is you want to do Blessing. Mistform's kind of nice. Mistform's kind of a waste of fatigue here because they've got enough magic attacks. I think the key thing is skeletal body. These just aren't great paths for fighting Yis, though. Charged body may work. I don't remember the amount of damage charged body does. But it might have zapped one of the... Yeah, because these guys weren't even blessed, were they? It might have zapped one of them. They have really high defense, though. I forget what Vanarus's bless is, but... Tricky. Might have been the... I kind of want to look. Golden Lance, Fiery Breath 0. And the body with Hoof for 10 points of damage. Damn. Fiery Breath 1. Yeah, I think actually the Fiery Breath is what popped. Yeah, this is what popped Mist Form. These are really high attack. Eventually they were going to hit him and pop Mist Form. Yeah. Probably not. I don't actually think a script change would have saved him. It could have been better, like Blessing and Skeletal Body, but I don't think he was going to make it, unfortunately. You know, it depends a little bit on the RNG of... What item did he have? I know I'm obsessing about this one, but... Frostbrand? I think they have cold resistance. But these guys weren't even blessed. Yeah, he might have been able to. This is like a borderline case of what might have been possible. So hard to say. And then Yis attacks here with the gelatinous cube. Cannot be stopped. We saw that earlier, so we're not going to watch it again. And yeah, we have most of the map starting to look like Yis now. Yeah, Pythium, who has now been eliminated. When you get eliminated, all your scouts attack whatever province they're in. So you can see them here. And he's now cordoned off most of Yis. And I think at this point, it's pretty safe to say that Yis is like running away with the game. Because he's got now 4 capitals. And he's working pretty quickly on his 5th. And nobody else is working quickly on their 2nd. I don't think. Oh, no. Yeah. No. Okay. Jotunheim has 2. Let's do a capital count. Jotunheim has 2, because he's the one who got Naba. And is big, but they only have 1. Vanarus is kind of big now from raiding, but they only have 1. Ulm is kind of small now from raiding, and they have 1. Vanarus was working on 1, but he's probably never going to get Bandar Log. Not while Yis is fighting him. So, yeah. I mean, technically, Yis is at 3 working on 4, but they're also working on 5. And then, yeah. Anyway, that is that. So let's turn our attention to the Ulm War. So indeed, Ulm has decided to march towards Tajits, the abductor. This looks like a Wind of Death. No, I'm just gonna super combatant it up. I think this is not the proper use of Tajits. God damn. He's got a lot of faith. This is not something I would send Tajits into. I mean, Tajits can be a huge badass, but... There's a lot of incoming damage. Shield's broken. I mean, he killed a thug. I mean, he gym baited, but he also risked dying. Like, if you run this a dozen times, there are definitely scenarios where this guy dies. Let's see what afflictions he got. Okay, broken armor, broken shield, and then a limp. I don't think this was worth it. I think Sakne was right in his message that, because it's the pretender or the hero he was talking about. This guy's job is to do arrow fend. It's not really to be a super combatant, I don't think. This army, a little hard to super combatant. Possible, but I'd say difficult. Ulm got found out here on top of the capital. Okay. So Ulm has split his forces. He sent a major portion of his force onto the capital. He's got a small contingent of his force coming back towards his capital. And he got capped this turn by a werewolf. And he said this Thermagode heading over this way. I don't actually like this move from Ulm. I don't like it at all. It could be... I think this makes sense if negotiations have failed. But I think you ask for peace with Jotunheim. And I think Jotunheim has to be kind of foolish to not accept it with returning to original borders. Because I think Ulm has a decent chance of taking out his capital. There's a monolith here, which could cause some problems. I do think this is the kind of army which can kill a monolith. You have all these earth mages who can do shatter potentially. And then I don't know. The crossbows may or may not be able to get through it. He can also turn this into like a mage-only army where he just has a ton of stuff pelting the monolith and he puts all his guys on guard commander. I think he has enough commanders to do that if he wanted to. Yeah. But now he's got the task of trying to get all this stuff back, which I think is going to be a bit tricky. He's taken this back from Vanheim, but now this force is coming through. And this is kind of scary. It's 2 Van Herses, a Van Jarl. Van Jarls are the big ones, and then a bunch of Vans. And this is the Fire Gym Van Jarl. So, okay. This is going to be tricky. I do think it's possible for this army to hold this province because it's kind of a predictable move with the PD dump. But Ulm's really poor. I don't know if Ulm can afford any PD dumps. And if he can't, then there's a good chance he just loses this army and this province. So we'll have to see. Like, his own income's probably... I bet you he's not making any money. So I think that's probably not even an option. So I think he might be checkmated over here. And yeah, now he just has to try to come and take all this stuff back. We have scouts. Oh, the scouts of Pythium attacked Vanheim and won. So this actually is hilarious. So this fort of Ulm is being sieged by independent Pythium scouts because Pythium lost this turn, so his scouts attacked. I've never seen this before. And they actually won what they attacked. So that's hilarious. I don't know if they stay on the map next turn or if they disappear. But it appears they stay. I mean, this just is horrible. I mean, this is just chaos, and the only person who's kind of winning in this is Vanheim. But this is horrible for Ulm and Jotunheim. This fort has finally popped. And I don't think Ulm has anything over here to save it. The only thing Ulm can hope is that Pythium risks life and limb. Not Pythium, End risks life and limb to kick these guys off of Ulm's fort. Which I think is expecting extremely generous things from Pythium. Here we have a battle between Vanheim and End. So these are just some Einherrs who are pretty good. But they're also... yeah, they do take a beating. And these End soldiers are pretty good. And they're outnumbered, which matters a lot when you aren't super strong in terms of defense. So these guys have a lot of attacks per tile, but these guys have a lot of tiles. It's okay. They killed one of the Viceroy Primates and a few soldiers, but lost a fair amount of Einherrs. Here the rate... this just... people, it feels like spitefully fighting each other. This whole Vanheim End war just doesn't make a ton of sense. They're just causing attrition to each other. I mean, I can understand why Vanheim attacked End, because End attacked Vanheim. Anyway, no major battles this turn yet, so we'll have to see. Kills a bunch of barbs here. Okay, I think that's it for this episode, guys. Things are going crazy. I will see you next time.